Bharata and his party took a dip into the Triveni, the confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati, the chief of the sacred places, and bowed their head to the said Bharadwaja. Bharata reverently received his order and blessings, and protesting himself made much supplication, accompanied by expert guides and taking the whole host along with him. He proceeded on his journey with his thought directed towards Chitrakuta. Holding Sri Rama's friend Goha by the hand, he walked along like the very incarnation of love. He had no shoes and no umbrella over his head, and his love, self discipline, austerity, and piety were unfinged. Unfinged means, what do you mean by the unfinged? Unfinged. Unfinged means genuine and sincere is called the unfinged. Unfinged means genuine and sincere, not finged or hypocritical. Not finged or hypocritical is called the unfinged. Unfinged. Not finged, genuine is called the unfinged. Genuine is called the sincere. Sincere means free of dissimulations, free from adulteration is called the sincere. Free from adulteration is called pure, is called the sincere. Pure is called the sincere. Free from adulteration is called the sincere. Free from adulteration is called the sincere. Free from adulteration is called the sincere. Unfazed means sincere. Unfazed means free from adulteration is called the sincere. A sincere interest. A sincere interest. A sincere interest. A sincere interest. So unfazed. So unfazed. There. So sincere is the unfazed. And Sri Rama is scrupulous. Unfazed. Sri Rama, 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 Sri Rama. Unfazed. Unfazed means sincere, not for adulteration, not mixed. He asked his friend Goha to give an account of the wandering of Lakshmana, Sri Rama, and Sita. He asked his friend unfazed. He asked his friend Guha and unfazed. He asked his friend Guha, unfinished, that is the unfinished. He unfinished. His sincerity is unfinished. So he asked his friend Guha to give an account of the wandering of Lakshmana, Sri Rama and Sita, while Guha narrated the same in soft accent. When he saw the spots where Sri Rama had rested and the trees under which he had halted, the emotion within his breast could not be repressed. Emotion means emotion, a strong feeling derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. A strong feeling derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship is called the image. That is the emotion. A strong feeling is called the emotion. Emotion. That is the emotion. A strong feeling is called the emotion. Strong feeling is called the emotion. Emotion means strong feeling is called the emotions. Strong feeling is called the emotions. Strong feeling is called the emotions. Strong feeling derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. Strong feeling derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. Strong feeling derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. Feeling is called the emotions. Emotions is a conscious mental reactions subjectively experienced. A strong feeling usually directed toward a specific object and typically accompanied by psychological and behavioral changes in the body. A state of feeling, a conscious mental reaction such as anger or fear subjectively experiences. A strong feeling usually directed toward a specific subject and specific object and typically accompanied by psychological and the behavioral changes in the body. It's called a strong feeling, a conscious mental reaction. Strong feeling. So conscious mental reaction subjectively experience a strong feeling usually directed toward a specific object and typically psychology. A state of feeling as a strong. He asked the account of wandering when he emotions. So emotions within his breast could not be repressed. The gods who beheld his condition could not be repressed. Repressed means repressed. Could not be repressed. Repressed means repressed. So could not be repressed. Repressed means could not be repressed. Could not be repressed. Strong feeling could not be repressed. Repressed means restrained or oppressed, kept unrestrained. That is called the repressed. Repressed means subjected to mark by characterized by restraint. Characterized by restraint is called the repressed. Characterized by the restraint is called the repressed. Characterized by the restraint is called the repressed. The god who beheld his conditions rained down flowers, emotions, breast, halted the emotion within the breast could not be repressed. The god who beheld his condition rained down flowers, the earth grows soft and the road become pleasant. The clouds afforded him shade all around, and delightful and the excellent breeze kept blowing. Delightful and the excellent breeze. The cloud afforded him shade all along, and delightful and the excellent breeze kept blowing. The journey was not so agreeable to Sri Rama as it proved to be for Bharata. The numberless being, both animate and inanimate. Numberless being, both animate and inanimate. Numberless being, both animate and inanimate, that saw the Lord or were seen by the Lord in their turn had been rendered fit for the highest estate. The sight of Bharata now finally rid them of the disease of transmigration. This was no great thing for Bharata, whom Sri Rama ever cherished in his heart. Even they who utter the name of Rama only once in this world not only reach the other shore themselves but are also able to take others across. As for Bharata, he is dearly loved by Sri Rama and his younger brother too. No wonder then that journey should be delighted to him. Siddha, as a class of the celestial beings, saints and the great saints, observed thus and rejoiced at heart to behold Bharata. Indra, the chief of God, was filled with anxiety when he saw Bharata's power. The world is good to the good and vile for the vile, he said to his preceptor, the sage Brahaspati. Someone must be done, my lord, to prevent the meeting between Rama and Bharata. Someone must be done, my lord, to prevent the meeting between Rama and Bharata. ShriRama is meeting between Rama and Bharata. What do you mean by the meeting? Meeting. What do you mean by the meeting? Meeting with Rama and Bharata. Meeting. What is the meaning of meeting? And meeting means Rama and Bharata. Meeting. Meeting means, what do you mean by the meeting? Meeting means meeting. Meeting means Rama and Bharata. Means meeting means an assembly of people for a particular purpose, especially for formal discussion. A assembly of people for a particular purpose, especially for the formal discussion. An assembly of people for a particular purpose, especially for a formal discussion. A situation when two or more people met by chance and arrangement. An assembly of people for a particular purpose, especially for a formal discussion. An act of process of coming together. An act of process of coming together. An assembly for a common purpose. A session of horse or dog. Yes. Act of process of coming together. Act of process of a session. Assembly of common purpose. An assembly of common purpose. Assembly of common purpose. That the meeting between Rama and Bharata. ShriRama is scrupulous. ShriRama is scrupulous by nature. ShriRama is scrupulous. ShriRama is scrupulous by nature. He is scrupulous. Scrupulous means scrupulous. Careful, thorough, and extremely attentive for the detail. Careful, thorough, and extremely attentive for the detail. Scrupulous. Careful, thorough, and extremely attentive for the detail. Scrupulous is having moral integrity, acting in strict regard to what is considered right or proper. Acting strict regard for what is considered right or proper. Acting in strict regard for what is considered right or proper is called the scrupulous. Acting strict regard for what is considered right or proper. What is considered right or proper. Acting in strict regard for what is considered right and proper. Scrupulous. Right and proper. Scrupulous means having acting in a strict regard for what is considered right or proper. Acting in a scrupulous means that acting in a strict regard what is considered right or proper. Acting in a strict regard what is considered right or proper. Acting in a strict regard for what is considered right or proper. Punctuality. Acting in a strict regard for what is considered right and proper. So scrupulous. ShriRama is right and proper. ShriRama is scrupulous by nature, won by the love, while Bharata is the ocean of the affection. What has already been accomplished thus threatened to be undone. Therefore, finding out some stratagem means stratagem. Finding out some stratagem. Finding out some stratagem. An artifice or trick in war for deceiving and outwitting the enemy is called a stratagem. An artifice or trick in a war for deceiving and outwitting the enemy. A cleverly contrived trick or scheme for gaining an end. Skill in uses is trickery. And cleverly contrived trick or scheme for gaining an end. So ShriRama is scrupulous by nature and won by love. Love, loyalty, and enthusiasm for a person or activity is called an intense feeling of deep affection. An intense feeling of deep affection is called the love. An intense feeling of deep affection is called love. An intense feeling of deep affection is called love. Intense feeling of deep affection and won by the love. Intense feeling of deep affection is called. Intense feeling of deep affection is called love. While Bharata is an ocean of the affection, what has already been accomplished thus threatened to be undone. Therefore, finding out some stratagem, let us use it as a remedial measures. Let us use it as a remedial measure. Remedial means remedial measures. Let us use that thing as a remedial means intended as a remedy, concerned with a correction of faulty study habits and rising a pupil's general competency is called a remedial. Concerned with a correction of faulty study habits and the rising of a pupil's general competency. Concerned with the correction of faulty study habits and rising the pupil's generally competency. Concerned with the correction of faulty study habits and rising in people's general competency, that is called a remedial measures. Hearing his words, the perceptor of the god smiled and realized that though endowed with the thousand eyes, Indra was really blind, lacked discriminate. Discriminate means, what do you mean by that? Discriminate. Lack discriminate. Discriminate means the ability to judge well is called the discriminate. The ability to judge well is called the Indra was really blind. Ability to thousand eyes. Indra was really blind. Ability to judge well. Ability to judge well is called the discriminate. He said, if anyone practices deceptions on the devotee of ShriRam, the Lord of Maya, it requires on the artificer himself. O King of the God, last time we did something knowing that it had ShriRama's tacit approval, but by resorting of some underhand means, this time we are sure to meet with disaster. Listen, O Lord of the God, it is the ShriRama's nature not to be angry at any offense against himself, but he who sins against his devotees surely consumes in the fire of his wrath. The story is well known both in the world as well as in the Vedas. The sage Durvasa knows this glorious state of the ShriRama's character. Who is there who loves Rama as Bharta's loves? World repeats Rama's name where Rama repeats name of the Bharta. Never harbor in your mind, O Lord of the immortals, even the thought of the frustrating the purpose of the devotee of Rama, chief of Raghunath, for the same will bring you infamy in this world, sorrow in the next, and the series of woes in your day-to-day life. Hear our advice, O King of the gods. The devotee is supremely dear to Rama. He is gratified through service rendered to his devotee and bear great enmity to those who are hostile to them. Even though the Lord is alike to all without either love or anger and receives neither sin nor virtue, neither merit nor demerit, and even though he has made fate the ruling factor in this world so that one reaps what one sows, yet according as one possesses the heart of the devotee or the unbeliever, he appears to the impartial or hostile in his dealing. Though devoid of attributes, unattached, free from pride, and even unchanged, ShriRama has assumed the form with attributes yielding for the love of his devotee. ShriRama has never respected the wishes of his devotee, has ever respected the wishes of his devotee. The Vedas and the Puranas, as well saints and the gods, can bear testimony to this. Bearing this in mind, give up perversity and cherish ideal love for Bharta's feet. ShriRama's devotees are actively engaged doing good to others, share the sorrow of others, and are compassionate by nature. And Bharta is the very key joy of the devotee. Therefore, be not afraid of him, O ruler of the gods. The Lord is true to his words and the friends of the gods, while Bharta obeys ShriRama's order. You are feeling uneasy only because you are dominated by the self-interest. Bharta is not to blame at all. It is your ignorance which is responsible for your uneasiness. The chief of the gods, Indra, was overjoyed to hear these valuable words of the heavenly preceptor, and his depression of spirit was gone. The Lord of Celestial therefore rained down flowers and gladly began to extol Bharta's noble disposition. In this way, Bharta went on his way while sages and the Siddhas were filled with envy at the sight of his conditions. Whenever he heaved a long sigh with the word Rama on his lips, it seemed as its love overflowed on all sides. Even adamant and the stones melted at these words. The love of the citizens was beyond description. Halting at one place on this side, the party arrived on the bank of the Yamuna, and Bharta's eyes were filled with tears as he gazed on its dark water, which reminded him the ShriRama's swarthy form. At the sight of the lovely stream that possessed the same hue as the person of the ShriRama, the chief of the Raghunath, Bharta and his party were plunged into the ocean of grief on account of separation from ShriRama and were saved from drowning only by boarding the bark of discretion. Bark of discretion. discretion. ShriRam, Bharata and his party plunged into the ocean of grief on account of separation and were drowning only bark of the discretion. Discretion means bark of discretion. Discretion acting as authority and the judgment. One's own authority and the judgment in law. Discretion, own authority and judgment, and bank of discretion. The day they halted on on the bank of the Yamuna, everyone was provided with the comforts according to the occasion. In course of the night, innumerable boats of the untold variety came from all the ghats. At daybreak, the whole party crossed the river in the single trip. Everyone was pleased with the services rendered by the Nishada chief in this behalf. After performing their ablutions and bowing their head to the river Yamuna, the two brothers Bharata and Shatrugna resumes their journey with their lord of the Nishada. At the head of the line, the chosen vehicle travelled the principal six, Vamadeva, Vashishta, and so on, followed by the royal host. Next followed the two royal brothers, both on foot. Their ornaments, costumes, and style of dress were all the very simplest. They were accompanied by their servant friends and the minister's sons, and went with their thought fixed on the Lakshmana, Sita, and the Lord of Raghu. They lovingly saluted each and every place where Sri Rama had either encamped or rested a while. Hearing the news, the man and the woman who lived by the roadside left their household work and ran after the royal travellers. And having seen their comely form and affection, they all rejoiced on attaining the reward of their life. One woman lovingly said to another, "Friends, can they be Rama and Lakshmana or not? Their age, constitution, complexion, and comeliness of the form are the same, dear companion. Their amiability and affection are also similar, and their gait too resembles that of Rama and the Lakshmana. Only their dress is not the same, and they are not accompanied by Sita, my friend, and an army complete in its four limbs, that is, horse and the foot, elephants and chariots, in marching before them. Moreover, they do not wear a cheerful countenance, and their heart is heavy with sorrow. The difference made me doubt an identity with Rama and the Lakshmana friend." Her argument appealed to the rest of the women. They said, "There is none so clever as she." Applauding the latter and admiring the truth of her remark, another woman spoke in sweet accents. She lovingly narrated the whole episode as to how the festivities in connection with Sri Rama's installation had been obscured. She then began to praise Bharata's amiability, affection, genial disposition, and good luck. Journeying on foot, living on foot, and relinquishing the sovereignty bestowed by his fathers, Bharata is proceeding to pursue the chief of Raghu line to return. Who can equal Bharata today? Bharata's brotherly affection, devotion, and conduct dispel the woes and the evil of those who talk or hear of them. Whatever may be said with regard to them, dear friend, will be quite inadequate. It is no wonder that the brother of the Rama should be like that. All of us who have seen Bharata and his younger brother have become praiseworthy among women. Hearing of his virtues and seeing his forlorn states, they eliminated, "Surely he is not the fit son of such a vile mother of the Kaki." Someone said, "The queen's mother Kaki is not blamed at all. All this has been accomplished by the God who is so favorably disposed to us. Of what account are we vile women excluded both from secular and the Vedic rites, and impure by birth as well as by doing, who dwell in the impure by birth and impure by birth and is doing, impure by birth and as well as are doing, impure by birth and is as well as is doing, impure by birth as well as is doing." Impure means, what do you mean by the impure? Impure means mixed with foreign matter, adulterate. Mixed with the foreign matter, adulterate. Impure, dirty is the dirty. Morally wrong, especially in the sexual matter, is called the impure. Impure by birth as well as by doing, or who dwells in the accursed regions, woodland, and in the wretched village, and are the worst of our class, that we should have such a sight, which is reward of the great religious merit. There was a similar rejoicing and wonder in every village. It seemed as if the celestial trees had sprung up in the desert. At the sight of the Bharata, the good fortune of the people by the roadside manifested itself as though by the will of the providence Prayaga had been brought within easy reach of the people of the Shimla cyclone. Hearing his own praises as well as Sri Rama's virtues, Bharata went on his ways thinking of the Sri Rama. Whenever he happened to see holy waters, he bathed in them, and whenever he caught sight of the hermitage of or a temple, he made obeisance to it. asking in his heart only one boon, that is devotion to the lotus feet of the Sita and Rama. Whomsoever he met, he a Kola or any other foresters, or even if he were an inquired a religious student, a recluse or a hermit, he would salute him and inquire in which part of the forest were Lakshmana, Rama, and Videha's daughter. They told him all the news of the Lord, and the sight of the Bharata obtained the reward of their life. Those persons who said they had seen the Lord doing well were counted as dear as Sri Rama and Lakshmana themselves. Thus, in a polite phrase, he would make inquiries from all and hear the story of the Sri Rama's forest life. Halting that day in a suitable place, he resumes his journey early next morning, invoking the Lord of Raghu. Just like Bharata, everyone who accompanied him longed for a sight of the Sri Rama. Auspicious omens occurred to everyone. They had happy throbbing in their eyes and arms. Bharata and his whole host rejoiced at the thought that they would be able to see Sri Rama, and the sting of their sorrow would come to an end. Each indulged in his own fancy, and all went intoxicated with the wine of the love. Their limbs were getting out of the control, their legs tottered, and they spoke words in the incoherent way. Due to emotion, Sri Rama's friend Gokha presently pointed to Bharata the creased jewel of the mountain Kamadgiri, which was naturally charming, and in the vicinity of which of the bank of the river Payasni dwelt the two brothers Sri Rama and the Lakshmana along with the Sita. Catching sight of the mountain, all fell protest on the ground with the cries of the glory to the Sri Rama, the life of the Janka's daughter. The royal host was so overwhelmed with the emotion as though the chief of the Raghu line had turned back towards Ayodhya. Bharata's love at that time was more than Shesha, the thousand-headed serpent's king, could describe. It is the unapproachable to the poet as the bliss of the absorption into the Brahma to those who are tainted by the egotism and the mindness. Being all overpowered by the love for the chief of the Raghu line, they had covered a distance of only 4 miles by the time the sun set. Perceiving a suitable site and water close by, they halted, and at the close of the night, the beloved of the Sri Rama resumed his journey. There Sri Rama walked while it was yet dark. Sita saw in a dream that very night as if the Bharata had come with the retinue, and that his body was tormented by the agony of the separation from his Lord. All who had accompanied him were sad at heart, miserable and afflicted, while her mother-in-law she found change in appearance. On hearing of Sita's dream, Sri Rama's eyes filled with tears, and he who rid others of the sorrow become sorrowful. This dream, Lakshmana brought no good. Somebody will break terrible bad news. Saying so, he took his bath with his brother, and worshipping the enemy of Tripura, Lord Shiva paid his respect to holy men. After adoring the god and reverencing the hermit, he sat down, gazing to the north. There was dust in the air, and host of the birds and beasts they had taken a flight in panic and were making their way to the Lord's hermitage. Says Tulsidas, he stood up when he saw that this and wondered in his heart what could be the reason. Presently the Kolas and Kirtas came and told him all the news. When he heard the delightful words, he felt overjoyed at heart. A thrill ran through his body and his eyes that resembles the utmost lotus, says Tulsidas, filled with the tears of affection. Sita's lord became anxious the very next moment. What can be the reason of the Bharata's arrival? Then somebody came and spoke to him thus: he has with him no small army, complete in its 4 limbs, that is foot, horse, elephants, and the carrot. Hearing this, Sri Rama felt much disturbed. On the one hand, there was his father's commands; on the other, his regard for his younger brother Bharata. Realizing Bharata's disposition in his heart, the Lord found no propositions to fix his mind upon. Then he consoled himself with the thought that Bharata was submissive, good, and reasonable. Lakshmana saw that the Lord was troubled at heart and spoke what prudence demands on the occasion. I make bold, my lord, to say something unasked, but a servant cease to be impertinent if the impertinence is not importunate. You, my master, are the creased jewel of the all-wise, that I, your servant, tell you my own mind. You, my master, are loving by nature and ruleless of heart, and storehouse of the amiability and affection. You love and trust everyone, and know all to be just like yourself. Who give to the pleasure of the sense are seized with infatuation or attaining power and reveal their true nature. Bharata was righteous, good and wise, and his devotion to the Lord's feet is known to the whole world. But now that he has attained Sri Rama's your position as the ruler of the Ayodhya, even he has transgressed the bound of the rightness, finding an adverse situation and knowing that you are alone in the forest. This villain, the big brother, has plotted an evil design, and after making due preparations, has come to make his sovereignty secure. Planning all sorts of the wicked schemes, the two brothers have collected an army and marched here. If they had no wily intentions and avery at heart, who should like to bring carrots, horses, and the elephants? But why should one blame Bharta for nothing when we know that anyone in this world would be driven made on the attaining sovereignty? Anyone in this world attaining sovereignty to become made in the attaining sovereignty. The moon god committed adultery with the wife of his guru, the sage Brahaspati, while Nosha mounted a palki borne by the Brahmans. And there was none so vile as King Vena, an enemy of the established usage, as well as the Vedic injections. An enemy of the established usage as well as Vedic injections. King Sahasrabahu, Indra, the lord of the Celestial, and the king Trishanku, father of the Harishchandra, which of these was not brought into the disrepute by the intoxication of the kingly power? Bharta has resorted to the right expedient, for one should leave no trace of an enemy or debt in any case. But he has made one mistake in that he has despised Sri Rama yourself as the forlorn, and he will realize his mistake with Vinigencies today when he beholds Sri Rama's your indigent face on the battlefield. Even as he said so, he forgot his love in propriety, and trees of his bellicose spirit burst into the flowers in the shape of horripilations. Adoring the Lord's feet and placing their dust on his head, he spoke, revealing his own real and the natural might. Pray do not take offense, my lord, if I tell you that the Bharta has provoked me not a little. After all, how long shall I endure this and restrain my patience when my lord yourself is with me and the bow in my hand? A Kshatriya warrior by caste and born in the race of the Raghu, I am known throughout the world as a servant of the Sri Rama yourself. How then can I put up with such insult? What is so low as a dust on the road? But if you were to kick it up, it would rise to your head. But what is low as a dust, if you kick it up, is rise to your head. As he rose and the joint palms asked leave to meet Bharta in an encounter, it seemed as if the erotic sentiments itself had awoke from the sleep, binding up the matted locks on his head and fastening a quiver to his waist. He strung his bows and took an arrow in his head. Let me distinguish myself as a servant of Sri Rama today and teach Bharta a lesson in a battle. Reaping the fruit of their contempt for the Sri Rama, let the two brothers sleep on the couch of the battlefield. It is well that the whole host has collected at one place. I shall therefore give vent to my past anger. Even as a lion, the king of the beast, shears to the pieces a heart of the elephant, or just as a hawk clutches in the carriage of a lark, so shall I lightly overthrow on the field Bharta as well as his younger brother Shatrughna and all their host. Even if Lord Shankara comes to his aid, I swear by Sri Rama that I will kill him in battle. Seeing Lakshmana speaks with such vehemency and fury, and hearing his soulman's oath, all the spheres trembled with fears, while their rulers were anxious to flee away in panic. The world was seized with the terror, and the voice was heard in the air extolling the enormous strength of the Lakshmana's arms. Who can tell, dear child, nay, who ever knew your might and the glory? But before doing anything, one must judge whether it is right or wrong. Then everyone who approve of it, they would act impulsively and repent afterwards, are anything but wise. So declare the Vedas and the sages. On hearing this voice from the heaven, Lakshmana felt abashed, but both Sri Rama and the Sita greeted him and said, what you have said, dear Lakshmana, is sound wisdom. The intoxication of the kingly power is the worst of all. But of those rulers who have tasted it, they alone lose their head, who have never waited on the assembly of the saint. As for the Bharta, I tell you, Lakshmana is the whole of the Lord creation. I have never seen or heard of anyone so good as he. Bharta would never be intoxicated with the sovereign power if he attained the position of Brahma, Vishnu or Shiva. What can I, if you drop of Kachi? ever slipped the ocean of milk. Darkness may swallow the midday sun, and the sooner may the heaven be absorbed into the cloud, or the Jan-born Sheikh Agastya, who is stated to have drunk of the ocean in the single draught, be drowned in the water collected in a cow's footprint. Nay, the earth may be abundant in natural forbearance, and Mount Meru be blown away by the puff of the wind discharged from the mouth of the mosquito. But Bharata will never be intoxicated by the kingly power, O brother Lakshmana. I swear by you as well as our father that there is no brother so good and innocent as Bharata. God, dear brother, creates the words by mixing the milk of the goodness with the water of the evil. A Bharata is a swan born in the lake of the solar rays that was sifted goodness from the evil, choosing the milk of the goodness and discarding the water of evil. He has illuminated the world by his glory. Even as the Lord of the Raghu extolled Bharata's virtues, amiability, and a noble disposition, he was drowned in the ocean of love. On hearing the speech of Sri Rama, the chief of the Raghunath, and seeing his affection to the Bharata, all the gods were full of applause and said, "Who else is such a gracious Lord as Sri Rama? Had Bharata not been born into the world, who on this earth would have championed the cause of virtue in its entirety? Who else than you, O Lord of the Raghu, can know Bharata's good qualities which are unapproachable even to the race of the bards?" On hearing the words of the gods, Lakshmana, Shriram, and Sita were more delighted than word can tell. There Bharata with all his host bathed in the sacred Mandakini, then leaving all the people of the riverside and taking permissions of his mother's preceptor, the Sikh Vashishta and the minister Sumantra, he proceeded to the spot where Sita and the Sri Rama were, taking the Nishada chief and his younger brother Shatrughan with him. As he thought of what his mother had done, he felt diffidence and the forms ill in conjectures of the every kind in his mind. God forbid that Sri Rama's Lakshmana and Sita leave the place on hearing my name and shift to the some other place, taking me to be the accomplices of my mother. Nothing that he might do would be too much, but looking to his own self, I am sure he will forgive my faults and receive me kindly. Whether he shun me as one possessing a black heart or welcomes me as his own servant, my only refuge, as Sri Rama shoes, he is really a noble master, while the whole blame lies with his servants myself. The only being deserving of fame in the world are the chatka birds and the fish, who are clever in keeping ever fresh their vows of fidelity and love. Revolving these thoughts in his mind, he went on his journey, his whole body rendered powerless by diffidence and affection. The sinful act of his mother Kaki dragged him back as if were, while the strength of his devotion pressed him forward. Foremost among the resolute as he was, whenever he thought of Sri Rama's good nature, his feet moved quickly along the way. Bharata's gait at the time resembles the movement of the waterfly carries along a stream. Seeing Bharata's anxiety and affection at the moment, the Nishada chief forget all about himself. Auspicious woman occurs, and the Nishada chief, after hearing of and reflecting on them, said, "Anxiety will pass away, giving place to that light, but in the end there will be the sorrow." Sri Ramayana. Bharata knew every word of the servant Guha to be true, and proceeding further, he drew near to the hermitage. When he saw the forest and the mountain range, he was glad as a hungry man on getting excellent food. Just as a people tormented by the fear of calamities and afflicted by the threefold trouble, as well as by influence of the evil stars and by pestilence, feel threefold trouble, afflicted by calamities, fear of calamities, and tormented by the fear of calamities, and afflicted by threefold troubles, as well as by the influence of the evil stars and by the Philistines feel happy on migrating the well-governed and the prosperous country. Bharata too had similar feeling. The natural wealth of the forest grew while Sri Rama lives there, even as the people rejoiced on securing a good king. The charming forest was Sakkar's realms referred to here. Discretion was the king who ruled over it, while Dispassion was his counselor. Likewise, the five yamas and the five niyamas constitute the champion of the realms. Mount Chitrakuta stood for its capital, while peace and the good understanding represent the virtuous and the lovely queens. In this way, the good king was completed in all of his films of the good state, and depending as he did on Sri Rama's feet, his heart was full of zeal. Having conquered King Delusion with all his host, King Discretions had undisputed sway in his capital, and joy, prosperity, and plenty regained everywhere. The numerous hermit habitations in the forest regions were like so many towns, cities, villages, and the hamlets comprising the king's dominion. The many birds of the various colors and the beasts of the different varieties constitute his countless subjects. The hares, elephants, lions, tigers, boar, buffaloes, and the bull presented a sight which attracted admiration, shedding their natural animosities. They roamed about together like an army, complete in all its four limbs. The rills of water flowed, and the made elephants trumpeted. Their noise resembles the beating of the cattle drum of the various kinds. Chakrakas, chakora, chatkas, parrots, and the cuckoos and the swan made delightful and the merry concern. Swarm of bees hummed and the peacock danced, while which shows as it were that there was universal rejoicing in that prosperous kingdom. People's trees and the blade of grass allies were blossoms and bore fruits. The entire community thus bore a festival in that delightful appearance. Beholding the beauty of ShriRama's hill, Chitrakuta Bharata heart overflowed with love, even as the ascetic who have reaped the fruit of his penance rejoice on the completion of his woes. Verse 20 for 30 days, verse 5 for the 9 days recitation. Shri Ram.